lives, that will change history, 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 that will change history. That will be the most beautiful day.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning back in this evening. With that, we are going to start our report tonight for April the 18th of 2022. Thank you guys for tuning in this evening. It's currently 9:30 p.m. We started a little bit late this evening. There was a couple issues I had to take care of on my end, but we're back up and running now. Currently, again, 9:30 p.m. on the East Coast here in the United States. About 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m. here, Kiev time in Ukraine. We have a good block of reporting here to bring you guys this evening. A lot of activity has happened over the past 12 to 24 hours here, as Russia has begun to ramp up its activities in the east of the country and elsewhere. We're first going to start off by going through our list of headlines that we have for this evening for you guys. Kind of go through some of the main stories that have come out over the past, again, 12 to 24 hours here. We will then be taking a look at all the individual reports that have come out for these events over the past 12 to 24 hours through sources, again, like our Scribble maps, our Live UA map, our Map Hub maps, etc., because we want to make sure to get all that in-depth information to you guys. We'll also be taking a look at, again, our situation room over on the Discord server to take a look at some of the posts that have been aggregated by the community in the past 12 to 24 hours or so. Again, thank you to everybody that's tuning in this evening. If you are new here, if you're tuning back in for the first time and you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to get notified when new streams go live, when new videos go live. If you haven't already, hit that like button. It's the best way to get the algorithm's attention. With that, I think we're going to start off with, again, our main headlines for this evening. Russia is ramping up its offensive in the east of the country. There's been a significant amount of fighting over the past 12 to 24 hours. Russia, again, is renewing its attacks on the Kiev region after retreating from the capital in recent weeks. The Russian Defense Ministry said on Sunday that it destroyed an ammunition factory near the city of Brovary. This comes as we've had multiple reports of strikes in and around the Kiev area over the past 24 hours or so here. I would say over the past 48 hours on a broader level there in the Kiev region. The new wave of attacks served as a reminder of the threat still facing Kiev and not just Kiev, but many cities in and around Ukraine. That goes for Lviv, some of the western towns and cities in Ukraine as well. Ukrainian MP Lisa Veshelenko tweeted on Saturday that it was the second day in a row of explosions in the capital. That was Saturday. So this has been going on for a few days now. Turning over to Mariupol, a group of Ukrainian fighters holed up in the Avstal steel plant in Mariupol are told again by Russian forces to surrender. This has been kind of a recurring theme there. The Russians leaving, kind of giving an ultimatum to those fighters there in Mariupol. We've gotten reports that not as they're just Ukrainian fighters holed up in and around some of these areas in Mariupol, including the steel plant, but also that there were some civilians possibly in there as well. We've seen a lot of footage coming out over the past 2 days or so of the fighting in and around that area of Mariupol. The Russian military has been unleashing what you'd call a relentless assault against the port city in southeastern Ukraine, again, which is key to Moscow's invasion of the country. They need to take Mariupol there to connect that land bridge from the Donbass down to Crimea there. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky described the current situation in Mariupol as, quote, inhuman. Uh, uh, Again, really graphic images coming out of Mariupol. There's been a lot of content put out by some of those Russian independent media outlets that we've covered here on the show a few times. People like Patrick Lancaster and some of his cohorts. We've seen a lot of content being published by them over the past few days here, showing what they portrays the situation there on the ground in Mariupol. It seems to be, again, a pretty dire situation. A pretty dire humanitarian crisis also is unfolding in that area. Humanitarian corridors were closed Sunday due to the failed talks between Russia and Ukraine. Left as many as 100,000 civilians trapped in Mariupol, again with no way out. The evacuations in and around Mariupol have been lacking in recent days and weeks, again, just due to the level of fighting and volatility in the region. At least 202 children, in a report earlier today, at least 202 children have been killed in Ukraine as a result of the Russian invasion so far, according to preliminary data from the country's Office of the Prosecutor General. Additionally, more than 361 children have been injured, officials said. UNICEF, the United Nations Agency for Children, estimates that nearly two-thirds of Ukrainian children have been displaced in the conflict so far. Some news from yesterday. Of course, we didn't have a report last night because of the Easter holiday. Again, I hope everybody tuning in had a wonderful Easter weekend. I know, given the given the circumstances right now, it's kind of hard to enjoy the holidays. But I hope everybody at least had a good Easter holiday this weekend. On Easter Sunday, Pope Francis called for an end to the war in Ukraine. He said, "May there be peace for the war-torn Ukraine, so sorely tried by the violence and destruction of this cruel and senseless war into which it was dragged," he told a crowd of worshippers in the St. Peter Square there. Again, that was on Easter Sunday. So again, this offensive is heating up in eastern Ukraine now, in the Donbass. There's been numerous reports over the past 24 hours or so of strikes in not just eastern Ukraine, but in the whole of Ukraine on a broader level. There was one report that came out earlier that said over 100 separate strikes had been reported after over 100 separate incidences of bombardment had been reported over the past 24 hours in Ukraine. So that includes everything from shellings to missile attacks, attacks by aircraft, etc. So we've definitely seen a ramping up over the past about 24 hours or so of activity occurring here in Ukraine. Again, Russia has began what they're saying is a new offensive in the eastern Donbass region. This was stated by Vladimir Zelensky earlier today. So these are his words. It's now official that they have started this new offensive in the east. Of course, the Russians in recent days have been building up their forces for an attack on what is, again, Ukraine's industrial heartland. An area where Moscow, backed separatists have been fighting Kiev for 8 years. Speaking, to the eastern region there, where fighting has been occurring for those 8 years since, annexation of Crimea, since the fighting had started there in the Donbass. Again. He said, this, and again, a quote by Zelensky here: "We will not give away anything Ukrainian. We do not need anything that is not ours," said Zelensky. Also on Monday, explosions rocked Lviv in a rare and deadly attack on the western Ukrainian city. So, as I stated earlier, not just Kiev, not just eastern and central Ukrainian cities, but also western Ukrainian cities are being targeted now. Up to now, Lviv has been kind of a safe hub for refugees. Western officials and the media in Lviv. A lot of journalists are there in Lviv, etc. Again, as the world braces for a major Russian offensive farther east, you see a lot of people held up in Lviv, and so to see these strikes there now is definitely a stark turn of events to see that kind of uptick of strikes again in Kiev and Lviv. So again, we're going to have to keep a close eye on those developments in the coming days. Again, in the past 24 hours now, we've seen a very sharp uptick in the amount of strikes, not just in the east, but in all of Ukraine. Again, when we hop over into live UA map, we will go into the details as for what has occurred over the past 24 hours as for those strikes. At least 7 people were killed in the Russian missile strikes, again, in Lviv there. That was reported by some Ukrainian officials earlier, with Russian forces striking areas across Ukraine while readying a new ground offensive in the east. In Mariupol, the strategically crucial southeastern port city, the last Ukrainian resistance refused to surrender despite an ultimatum and an unrelenting siege. Again, there was reports that have come out this evening that there is still conflict occurring in Mariupol. I know we've seen a lot of conflicting reports on Russian media, saying that they have taken the city. A lot of that is propaganda. There are confirmed reports now of this time, even from some of our Russian sources, that there is still Ukrainian fighters held up in Mariupol, and they are still fighting at this time. Patrick Lancaster, again, that Russian independent YouTuber there, who kind of tries to come off as a Western journalist, on a kind of a pro-Russian narrative there. He's come out with a lot of videos even confirming this in the past 12 or so hours here, where he admits there is still pockets of Ukrainian resistance holding out in certain areas in Mariupol there. I know from a few different sources the Russians were trying to kind of make it look like the Russian forces had taken the city. Again, the Pentagon has come out with a few statements over the past week, trying to shed light on some of those statements by the Russians to clear the waters there when it comes to are those Ukrainian forces still fighting in the city of Mariupol? They are indeed at this time. So, strikes in Kharkiv over the past 12 to 24 hours. There's been many strikes in and around the Kharkiv region. Again, the Russian forces are kind of moving to conduct that pincer movement in the area. We'll in the east there. We'll go into the details of that when I hop over in to live UA map. Earlier, videos. Some videos of were brought to light earlier of images of women and children purportedly sheltering in the basement of the Avestol steel plant there in Mariupol. Again, shedding light on the fact that there are civilians that are held up there in those steel plants that are under siege by those Russian forces. Again, those were published Monday evening on Telegram. The video, again, was posted by the Azov Battalion, a unit that, again, began as a ultra-nationalist militia, but has since integrated again into the Ukrainian armed forces. The video was, again, later shared by the Ukrainian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It appears to show dozens of children and families who have been sheltering for weeks in the basement of the plant where Ukrainian forces are holding out against Russian attacks. Again, speaking to those videos by Mr. Lancaster that I was speaking of, he actually speaks about that there are. In the video, he does speak to the fact that there are a pocket of Ukrainian resistance that is in that plant there that is currently holding out at this time. Again, it appears, to show the dozens of not only families but children as well in those videos holding out in the plant. We've again been unable to verify the authenticity, authenticity of the video, but there has been a multitude of reports pointing towards that there are not just Ukrainian military but also civilians held up at that location. New images show the Russian warship Moskva before it sank. Again, I will bring those up for you when we hop over into live UA map. I also might bring up those videos of the civilians as well held up in that steel plant. Again, those images just came to light early Monday on social media showing Russia's guided missile cruiser, the Moskva, aka the Moscow, badly damaged and on fire in the hours before the ship sank in the Black Sea this last Thursday. The sinking of the Moskva, the flagship of Russia's Black Sea Fleet, was the biggest wartime loss of a naval ship in over 40 years, and undoubtedly a huge embarrassment for Russia, for Moscow. Again, the images show the Moskva lifting to one side with the black holes from possible missile puncture marks and significant scarring at and just above the waterline of the port left side of the middle of the vessel, where those Neptune missiles reportedly struck the vessel. Again, a large plume of smoke can be seen billowing upwards, partly obscuring the front of the stricken ship. Again, I'll bring those up for you when we hop into Live UA map. We can take a look at those pictures and maybe analyze those slightly. Earlier, another statement by Zelensky. He rejects all tall tales, as he quotes there, of his forces need months of training to operate advanced weapons. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky pushed back against the concerns from U.S. and NATO officials that his military would need significant training before receiving advanced weapons from other countries, telling CNN his forces need weapons quickly and can learn to use them just as fast. The quote directly from Zelensky there says, I've heard these tall tales that we would need months to train our troops to use new tanks. Okay, give us a Soviet-era tank, Zelensky said in an interview. We are prepared to use any type of equipment, but it needs to be delivered very quickly. And we have the ability to learn how to use new equipment, but it needs to come fast. Zelensky said in the interview, from the office of the president office of the president in Kiev, there in the capital city, the weapons provided from the U.S. and other countries, including the Biden administration's new $800 million security assistance package, have helped his country resist the Russian invasion. Again, but he said that more would be needed, of course, and his country's trainers would be able to get his forces up to speed quickly. U.S. border officials encountered just more than 5,000 Ukrainians in March, says new data that was reported earlier today. U.S. Customs and Border Protection officials encountered just more than 5,000 Ukrainians in March, including 3,274 along the U.S. southern border. According to newly released agency data, again, that was released today, the challenge some Ukrainians face in getting to the U.S. Through an existing legal pathway is reflected in part on the U.S.-Mexico border. There, hundreds have gathered in to enter the U.S. Through a port of entry and potentially be paroled into the United States. Again, that comes as a growing humanitarian crisis, a growing refugee crisis, not is just unfolding here on our borders, but many borders in Europe and elsewhere. Ukrainian commander states earlier that Russian forces firing willingly on Mariupol factory, where people are sheltering again, those women and children and families that are there in that factory held up. Again, we'll try to show you some of that footage later this evening. Again, in an address on Monday to world leaders, commander of the Azov Regiment, Lieutenant Colonel Denis Propyenko, said Russian forces are firing on the Avstal Steelworks factory willingly in Mariupol as hundreds of people are sheltering inside. Propyenko is the commander of one of the Ukrainian units defending the port city of Mariupol. Propyenko said in a post on Telegram account that among those sheltering are people of all ages, again, women, children, and families of Mariupol defenders. They are sheltering in the basements and bunkers from the, quote, Russian world. According to Propyenko, those sheltering found their only available shelter next to the Ukrainian soldiers who are still defending the city from the Russian invaders. The quote from that, Russian occupational forces and their proxy from the Luhansk People's Republic and Donetsk People's Republic, the LPR and DPR, know about civilians and keep their fire on the factory willingly. They use free-fall bombs, rockets, bunker buster bombs, and all varieties of artillery, both ground and naval, for indiscriminate attacks. Again, by that statement there made by the colonel. Again, he added, the city theater, maternity hospital, schools, kindergartens, and houses were destroyed by those who now offer civilians evacuation and safety. These are the same people, and nobody believes them. So some interesting statements there from that colonel. Again, we're waiting to get more information out of Mariupol. To anybody that is PMing me with messages or anything, I'm going to get to all of you guys either later in the show or after the live stream. I know quite a few of you have sent me some messages on Discord here over the past about 10, 20 minutes or so. Don't worry, I will get to them. We'll get to all of those. Even if I don't have time to reply to them on the show here tonight, I'll reply to you guys after. Again, going forward here, uh, just running through some of the other more top headlines from this evening. Again, the battle for Donbass. Russian forces have started the battle for Donbass, says Zelensky. Again, in a video address on Monday. I'm pretty sure that video address is over on live UAMAP, and so I'll be able to show you guys that address here in a short while. Again, the president underscored that Ukrainian forces will continue to fight against the Russian incursion in the region. And he said, quote, "I am thankful to all of our warriors, our soldiers, our heroic towns and towns in the region who are resisting and standing firm," he added. Again, no plans for Biden to visit Ukraine. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki reiterated Monday that there are no plans in place for the U.S. President Joe Biden to travel to Ukraine following comments from Zelensky encouraging him to do so. That has not changed. This is a quote from her. "That has not changed. What our focus continues to be on is providing Ukraine and the Ukrainian government, Ukrainian leaders, a historic amount of security assistance." Again, in reference to the not only the lethal aid that they're sending over, but the logistical aid and the informational aid that they're sending over, things like the intelligence support, etc. Civilians, again, sheltering in the Azov steel plant. There has been reports of some of them trying to escape in certain directions in and around Mariupol there. We had a report earlier this evening that there was some Russian forces that possibly had opened fire on a group of civilians that were being escorted by possibly Ukrainian defensive forces. We're still waiting to get some information on that situation. If they were trying to, get some people out of that area. Again, I hope to have some more information on that with tomorrow's report, as that is a developing situation at this time. There's a lot of conflicting reports coming out of Mariupol, as been the norm for about 2 weeks now. Again, we're still waiting to get more concrete information about the chemical attacks that had occurred early last week. Possible chemical attacks, again, still has not been confirmed. We're still waiting to get word on the surrender of those 1,000 Ukrainian Marines. Still haven't got concrete information on that, as well as, again, the status on the pockets of resistance here that are holding out in this factory, not just the factory, but a few other locations in and around Mariupol. And so we're going to still, again, it's the fog of war. It's a active combat zone, so it's going to take some time to get some of that data out of the zone. Again, the U.S. Describes a campaign of terror in a statement by a State Department spokesperson, Ned Price. Said that Russia's attack in Ukraine in recent days further illustrates that the country is undertaking a campaign of terror, was his quote there, against the people of Ukraine. The fact is that Russia, more than just launching an invasion, more than just launching a war, has launched a campaign of terror, a campaign of brutality, a campaign of despicable aggression against the people of Ukraine. A ceasefire in Ukraine is not on the horizon, but may come in the coming weeks, depending on how the war and ongoing negotiations continue, according to Martin Griffiths of the UN, Under Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator. So ceasefires, they are not on the horizon right now, but they may be in a couple of weeks. They may be a little bit longer than that, Griffiths said in his remarks on Monday. Again, no safety from Russia's onslaught, in a statement from European Union earlier. Again, the European Union has condemned the latest round of Russian attacks on Ukrainian cities and said the recent shelling in western Ukraine show no part of the country is safe. Ukraine is being struck. Ukraine is being struck by the most intensive missile attacks by the Russian Federation since weeks. The EU condemns the continued indiscriminate and illegal shelling of civilians and the civilian infrastructure by Russian armed forces. Again, that was from the EU's foreign policy chief, Joseph Borrell. which made that statement in a address Monday. Again, moving on here, a statement from an Ukrainian official. There is not a town, a city, or a village left where it is safe now in Ukraine. Again, that comes as there has been a multitude of strikes over the past few days here across Ukraine, not just the past few days, over the past few months. Almost every corner of Ukraine has been struck in some way or another, has been affected in some way or another, and that statement, I believe, is absolutely true. The whole of Ukraine at this time is under danger, no matter where they are located, west, east, south, or north. Again, that statement there's not a single place, town, or city, or village left where it is safe in Ukraine. That came from Ihor Sahovka, chief diplomatic advisor to Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky. That was a reaction to those Russian missile strikes in Lviv and those statements earlier, those press statements earlier. Again, another statement today by Zelensky: Russia will have difficulty replenishing arsenal amid sanctions. Their arsenal of missiles, helicopters, and other military equipment, again, amid international sanctions. This was a statement made earlier by President Zelensky during that video address. The quote from that says, "The Russian army is not slowing down the use of missiles against Ukraine, although it should have realized that it will be extremely difficult to restore its missile stockpile in the face of even existing sanctions." Zelensky said, "Without imports, they can't even do that. And when all loopholes used to circumvent sanctions are closed and even tougher sanctions are imposed, restoring Russia's missile capabilities will be unrealistic." And that is not only consistent with some of the other reports that we've gotten that the Russians are having a hard time sourcing some of these parts and some of these materials, but it goes hand in hand with what we've been seeing here on the ground in Ukraine as the Russians expend some of the stockpiles of weapons in certain areas, and they start to have to shuffle things around. They have to look into alternative sources for these munitions, for some of the equipment that they need to use here in Ukraine. Again, another statement earlier from the U.S. State Department looking at possibly labeling Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism. The U.S. State Department officials, again, are looking at every tool available to them to hold Russia accountable for the war in Ukraine, including the possibility of labeling Russia a state sponsor of terrorism, according to a senior administration official. The process could take weeks before a determination is made. Again, the official said, here's the quote from that report: "We're taking a close look at the facts. We're taking a close look at the law," said State Department spokesperson Ned Price when asked about the possibility of designating Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism Monday. He said, whether it is this authority, whether it's any other authority available to us under the law, we will apply it if it's effective and appropriate. Again, the definition of a state sponsor of terrorism is a country that has, quote, repeatedly provided support for acts of international terrorism, according to the State Department. There are only 4 countries that are currently labeled state sponsors of terrorism by the United States, including North Korea, Iran, Cuba, and Syria. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky asked the U.S. President Biden in one of their recent phone conversations to designate Russia a state sponsor of terrorism. The U.S. has already rolled out severe sanctions on Russia over the Ukraine war, but is adding Russia to the list. Would be, again, a symbolic move that would also inflict an even greater cost on Russia's economy and arguably have much farther reaching consequences. It would lead to actions such as prohibiting Russia from buying certain items that can be used commercially or militarily, and sanctions on the other people and countries still engaged in certain trade with Russia, of course. There's quite a few that we've reported on over the past few weeks that are still looking to align with Russia on a trade basis. Again, another report from earlier Zelensky again saying, those forces have started the battle in Donbass, and so a lot of people I know are asking about. So what are the specifics there? And I'm going to kind of go in depth on live viewing map in here in a minute, but the gist of this is, and the reason he kind of gave this remark and this statement is. Uh, they're now, again, we've had this escalation of reports in the past 24 hours of strikes in the east, everywhere from Kharkiv down to Mariupol. Okay, so right across the Donbass, we've seen an uptick in not just conflict breaking out in certain areas, but missile strikes, shellings, mortars, etc. Over the past 12 to 24 hours here. A quote again by Zelensky earlier. He said, "No matter how many Russian servicemen they're bringing into that area, we will keep on fighting and defending. And when we will be doing this daily." And we will be doing this daily. We will not give up anything that is Ukrainian, but we don't need anything that is not ours. Again, that was the statement from Zelensky earlier. Backing up those statements, just to give some more context to that, the Ukrainian national security officials Monday announced that Russians had launched an effort to break through the front lines there in the Donbass. Again, today, this is the quote from, I believe this is Oleksiy Danilov, the Secretary of Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council. He says, "Today, almost along the entire front line of Luhansk, Donetsk, and Kharkiv regions, the occupiers tried to break through our defenses," he said in remarks on television. Again, that comes earlier, I reported this as well. Over 100 strikes have been reported by Russian forces over the past 24 hours, okay, in the east, in the Donbass, in those areas where this new conflict is breaking out. Another quote along with that report, he said, "Fortunately, our military is holding, and only in two cities the Russians have passed, Kremenina, and another small town. But the fighting continues. We are not surrendering our territories, and the attempt to start an active phase has begun this morning," he says. Again, that was this morning, the Monday morning for them in Ukraine. Again, it is now Tuesday at 5 o'clock a.m. We're coming around to the 5 o'clock hour here. It's 4:58 a.m. Again, so just, to reiterate there, they are saying now that the second phase of the war has begun officially in the east there. Another statement by Andriy Yermak, head of the Office of the President of Ukraine, said Monday the second phase of the war had begun in Ukraine's Donbass, again, amid clear signs of a stepped-up Russian offensive. He said, and this is the direct quote from him, "Donbass, the second phase of the war has begun, but I will tell you to believe in the armed forces." Again, that was a statement there by Yermak. Again, a statement from the UN earlier today. At least 73 people have been killed in 136 attacks on healthcare facilities since Ukraine invasion began. Again, there have been at least 73 people and 52 injured in 136 attacks on healthcare facilities in Ukraine since the invasion began. Again, that came from Stephanie Dujarric, the spokesperson for the UN Security General Antonio Gutierrez, again said Monday during a news briefing. Dujarric said he was citing the latest numbers from the World Health Organization. Again, that's a UN agency responsible for the international public health. He added that the attacks on healthcare facilities in Ukraine currently account for more than 68% of all attacks on healthcare facilities worldwide since the beginning of the year. Additionally, more than 1 out of 4 people in Ukraine, comprising around 12 million people, have been displaced due to the war, including around 4.9 million refugees and 7.1 million people internally displaced within Ukraine, Dujarric said. The UN now has more than 1,300 staff on the ground in Ukraine, working in 8 operational hubs across the country. Again, that was from the spokesperson. Dujarric added that the Secretary General Gutierrez continues to be deeply concerned about the ongoing attacks in Ukraine resulting in civilian casualties. So just a quick update on, again, the civilian situation at that Avestal steel plant. I do have a number for you guys as to the estimated amount of civilians that are sheltering in that besieged plant. It is expected to be about 1,000 civilians, including women, children, and the elderly. There at that plant. Quote from that report: "These civilians have established their life there, provided themselves with food and water." He said the military helped sometimes. These people did not want and still do not want to go out. They were aware they had more chances to stay alive here, but this was until the moment when the Russian Federation began to threaten to use airstrikes, again referring to the broader civilian population there in Mariupol. Again, there's also reports of some of those civilians possibly trying to escape in the past 12 hours here or so. We're waiting to get more concrete information out of the war zone, which is Mariupol at this time. Again, in those statements from the U.S. State Department earlier, saying Russia's recent attacks in Ukraine show, quote, a campaign of terror. State Department spokesperson Ned Price said that Russians' attacks in Ukraine in recent days, again, further illustrate that the country is undertaking, quote, a campaign of terror against the people of Ukraine when responding to a question about Russia's recent strikes in Lviv. Again, those Lviv strikes were, at the top of kind of the headlines here this Monday, as Russia looks to ramp up those strikes not just in the east, but now is continuing and starting to strike targets, in and around Lviv again, in and around Kiev again, similar to how it was a few weeks ago when they were still located in and around the Kiev region. Of course, now they have pulled out of that region and are primarily focusing on the east and the south. So, again, a few other tidbits here. Again, Mariupol is a critical logistics hub for Ukrainian forces as a whole, and that's really why they're holding on to it. Um, I was reading a statement earlier, again from retired Lieutenant General uh, Mark Hertling. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Again, he said Mariupol was a critical logistics hub. Its strategic position on the coast of the Sea of Azov makes it a key target. Taking it would allow Russia to create a continuous land bridge from Donbass to Crimea. And I've, again, been talking about this for a few weeks now, is that's why they are fighting so hard for Mariupol, is because if they take Mariupol, they get the land bridge, okay? And this is just that statement here from that Lieutenant General kind of reiterates that a little bit for you guys. Again, the peninsula, it illegally annexed in 2014, speaking to Crimea there. It not only has roads, but it also has railroads and, again, has those ports. It is, after all, a port city. Russia definitely has a liking for the port cities. It needs the port cities. Primary targets for sure on Russia's agenda. Right back to Crimea in 2014, Sevastopol, those port cities there, Mariupol, and then Odessa are also on its hit list, so to speak. So again, just reiterating to the increase of strikes over the past 12 to 24 hours here. As the fighting again continues in Mariupol, putting that aside, it has also again intensified in other parts of the countries. Ukrainian officials in the Kharkiv and Luhansk regions reported heavy bombardments by Russian forces Monday. Again, acknowledging the retreat from one important town, but claiming to have successfully repulsed Russian attacks elsewhere. That is actually now that's two towns, by the way. Small, a small village, and then that one town there. So, meanwhile, again, the western city of Lviv, seen as again the safe haven due to its proximity to the border, has now come under attacks, and we also have a few other areas in that area that have possibly seen attempted strikes over the past 24 hours. However, there has been a lot of reports that Russian air defenses have been able to thwart quite a few of those Russian bombardments. Luckily for the Ukrainians. Um, Another report from earlier today, Monday, I guess that is notable. Ukraine submits a key document on the path toward European Union membership. I know we've been talking about how they are looking to fast track in to the European Union. Again, President Zelensky on Monday handed over a document with Ukraine's answers to a questionnaire from the European Union, another step on Kyiv's path toward European EU membership. Again, the European Union's ambassador to Ukraine, Mady Masalikas, tweeted that he was honored to receive from President Zelensky the answers to the European Commission's questionnaire. Again, in the tweet, Miklas noted that the document had been handed over by the President von der Leyen only 10 days ago, and that the extraordinary times take extraordinary steps and extraordinary speed. Again, as they look to fast track there into the EU. Another report, again, from U.S. intelligence officials earlier, they state that they believe that Russia is learning from their failures in the north of Ukraine and applying those lessons on their new focus in the east and the south, according to the senior U.S. defense official. What we have seen over the last few days is that they continue to try to set up the conditions, said the official in the call with reporters on Monday. He said, "We call it shaping operations." The quote from that report, "It appears as if they're trying to learn from the failed lessons in the north, where they didn't have the proper sustainment capabilities in the area they were about to operate," the official said. The official added that the U.S. has seen Russia moving in heavy artillery, command and control enablers, and aviation, particularly rotary aviation support, so helicopters, etc., transport helicopters, attack helicopters, etc., into these areas as part of 11 new battalion tactical groups, as the Russians like to call them, these BTGs, that have moved into the area, again, over the last few days. Staffers working with Chef Jose Andres, Ukraine charity kitchen, injured in a Russian missile strike in Kharkiv. Again, a Ukrainian-based humanitarian kitchen linked to the celebrity chef Jose Andres has been destroyed by a Russian a missile in the northeastern city of Kharkiv, according to the charity that runs it. One of the restaurant partners of the World Central Kitchen, also known as WCK, again, was struck on Saturday, according to the non-profit kitchen's CEO, Nate Mook, who confirmed the news on Twitter. He said 4 staff members had been injured in that blast. Quote from that report, he says, "An update I hoped I'd never have to make. I'm at a WCK kitchen in Kharkiv, where less than 24 hours ago I was meeting with their amazing team." Mook wrote, again, alongside a video of himself standing amongst burnt-out cars and severely damaged buildings. This is the reality here. Cooking is a historic act of bravery. Cooking is a historic act of bravery. So, again, those kind of wrap up the primary headlines for this evening. I guess another comment there on Mariupol. Mariupol remains contested as Ukrainian forces resist against about a dozen of those Russian battle groups at this time. So a dozen of those Russian BTGs are going up against those Ukrainian forces that are holding out there. So this is just these major headlines I gave you guys here that we just spoke on here. All of those are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the broader picture here, which is happening in Ukraine. So now we're going to kind of hop over and kind of take a deep dive into some of the individual reports. We're going to start by taking a look at. We're going to start by taking a look at our situation room over on the Discord server. And we are going to have a look at some of the posts that have been aggregated by our community members over the past 12 to 24 hours here. And so I think what we're going to do for that is we're going to hop over onto our larger screen so that we can see some of those posts a little bit easier. All right. So our first post this evening from our situation room, which is aggregated news and reporting coming from our intel analysts over on the Discord community server. Again, if you would like to join in on our discussions and intel reporting over there in the community Discord. You can find a link to that in the description below. The link is discord.gg/Nemico. If you would like to contribute posts to the Situation Room, you can do so over there on the Discord server. So our first community aggregated post today comes from the captain. It's a post from Twitter here, and it shows the first video of the cruiser Moskva after the hit at sea with from those Ukrainian forces there. Let's see if I can get this to play for you guys. Seems to be having some issues. Let me see if I can get it to, yeah, there we go. Here's this video here of the Moskva on fire. What is reportedly the Moskva after a hit from those Ukrainian Neptune missiles. You can see the ship burning there, some other what seems to be Russian vessels in the immediate vicinity. Again, you can see the ship on fire there, and what looks to be possibly the blast marks. I believe there's a picture over on a live UA map that we'll look at here shortly that might have maybe a closer look of those blast marks there. Another post by the captain this evening. Alex Silva, thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. Much appreciated. Another post here by the captain on the Situation Room over on our Discord earlier shows, again, this is a tweet from Alejandro Alaveres, a verified Twitter account here. However, again, everything we take from Twitter and Telegram, we like to count as unconfirmed until it is confirmed. Again, the post here says, whatever new offensive the Russians have been repositioning to eastern Ukraine seems to be getting underway tonight. Outgoing fire from the occupied areas of Donetsk and Kherson. Almost all of Ukraine fell under air raid alerts over the last hour. Again, that was from 4:28 p.m. My time. So here's that video of those outgoing rounds. We can take a look at that here. You can see those that outgoing missile barrage there. You can hear the roar of those rockets in the background. You could see some of the other missiles there being fired. You can see some other of those missiles there being fired again. So it does look like the offensive there in the east is starting to ramp up. Another post by the captain. Captain, thank you so much for providing these posts here tonight in the Situation Room. Again, apparently a video of the Russian flagship Moskva after being hit when she sinks. I believe that's the same video that we just saw a moment ago. Again, to everybody that has sent me PMs, I will try to get to all of them after the show or towards the end if I have time. One actually just came over from Rot Lady on the Discord. This is the Ukrainian Marine commander in Mariupol told the Pope in an open letter that Mariupol is, quote, hell on earth. This was posted on Telegram earlier, so another community aggregated post there. So this next post from our Situation Room comes from Fenris on the Situation Room over here. Again, comes from a Twitter post here from Ukraine War Map. They are updates. The expected major offensive by Russia in Kharkiv, Luhansk, and Donetsk front appear to have started. Forces began much heavier shelling of Ukrainian positions than they have in recent days, carried out attacks along the front. Again, you can see those updated battle maps here. Here you can see Izium here. This actually is pretty interesting because Izium, there's been a lot of talk about the Russian forces advancing in this area. You can see kind of the paths that they are taking into the region. You can see here as they try to enact this pincer movement on that pocket of Ukrainian forces that's in this area here. Again, as they move up from here, from the south, and down from Izium and Kharkiv here in the north. I believe there's two pincer movements that they're going to look to enact here. It's one this way to basically trap these Ukrainian forces, kind of encircle these Ukrainian forces that are here in this area, and also they're going to try to possibly surround Kharkiv to the south and west. That could be a possibility as well. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. Again, our next post here from on the Situation Room. Trying to get this up here. So we have another post here that comes from Fenris, another military map that he is sending over here. It's an Invasion Day 54 summary. Again, this comes from militaryland.net. This is an excellent source for information, for getting some up-to-date information as for some of those Russian military movements. So you see some updated front line maps here. In fact, I can bring these up inflated for you here. And so they show just kind of how the Russian forces are moving into some of these areas, again, around Kharkiv here in the north, Izium down here, as well as they kind of, again, look to enact that pincer movement and kind of block off those Ukrainian forces that are in the east here in this kind of open pocket that you see here that I'm circling with my mouse. We'll read a couple of things from this. In the Kharkiv Oblast, Russian reconnaissance elements advanced towards Zavodi, Dmitrivka, and Dibron. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. They met with Ukrainian resistance and withdrew back towards Izium. In the evening, Ukrainian officials reported the Russian army amassed up to 25,000 soldiers near Izium and is attempting to push towards Sloviansk. Luhansk Oblast, the head of Luhansk Oblast said Ukrainian troops made a tactical withdrawal from the Crimea, and the city has been captured by advancing Russian forces. However, this was later denied by the presidential advisor Aristoch. According to him, the city is contested and the battle is ongoing. There is an unconfirmed report that Russian troops have reached UKRAINI between Terny and Yemepil. Again, I hope I'm kind of pronouncing those sort of correct. But again, it looks like those Russian forces are moving on a lot of these areas along that eastern front. Again, they kind of go into the detail here on a few of these front lines. Donetsk and Zaporizhia Oblast, heavy shelling again in Donetsk was reported along the whole contact line. Russian troops are reportedly attempting to break through Ukrainian positions near Advitka. In the Zaporizhia Oblast, Russian forces have launched an offensive operation towards Hulyapol. Ukrainian forces are reportedly heavy shelling in the city and close vicinity. Again, you can see those front lines here, different contact reports from some of these areas here along these front lines. You can see also there's a map here of Mariupol. The Russian forces now have closed the gap, so to speak, in a lot of those areas that were previously contested on these maps in recent days. As you can see here, that pocket of Ukrainian resistance has gotten a lot smaller on the map. I believe you can actually see that reflected on live UA map now. In fact, yes, they have. They have closed in here towards the coast. You can see there's two primary areas. Avestol, of course, the plant here in this region, and then also over here you have kind of some pockets of Ukrainian resistance as well. Johnny Watson, thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. Welcome aboard. Again, we've seen a lot of videos and a lot of reports from our favorite Russian independent YouTuber that we all have come to know as a great source of Russian propaganda and information, Patrick Lancaster, and some of the videos that he's posted over the past few days. Again, and I don't want to jump to any conclusions here right off the bat. But he's definitely coming from a pro-Russian narrative. But the footage he's come out with over the past 12 to 24 hours has been really stark. if you guys go watch it. Basically, the scenes that we've seen from Bucha, it's the Russian version of that, okay? The Russian version of the scenes from Bucha is what the videos that they're showing now out of Mariupol, the streets of death, as they're calling it, with bodies, dozens of bodies, civilian bodies lying in the streets, lying in the rubble. I highly recommend you guys go watch those videos and decide for yourself. Again, keep in mind that it is coming from a heavily pro-Russian narrative. He is what he claims to be a Western journalist. However, it does kind of show an interesting narrative that they're trying to build there. To me, it kind of looks a lot like, the scenes that have come out of Bucha, and I feel like the Russian media is really going to hop on that in the next few days. Here, we're going to see a lot of that footage. You guys, just keep that in the back of your minds. What I'm telling you now, I guarantee over the next 24 to 48 hours, over the next few days, we're going to see a lot of that footage coming out of Mariupol, of these streets with the bodies laying on it. And I believe the direction the Russians are going to push with that narrative is that it's the Ukrainians that killed these civilians on the road here in Mariupol. Again, I would like to see further evidence and proofing on these videos posted by some of these independent sources that I'm speaking of here, such as Patrick Lancaster, etc. They're on YouTube. You guys can actually find those on YouTube if you just like YouTube Patrick Lancaster. Again, I don't condone his channel or content. We've referred to him as a source of information a few times because again, he's a Western journalist, or what he claims to be a Western journalist. In the east of Ukraine, he's been reporting there for years now. Again, he comes from a very pro-Russian narrative, though, so just keep that in mind when you watch the videos. What side he is trying to portray information from. He's definitely kind of a pro-Russian journalist, as there are no Western journalists in Mariupol at this time that we know of that are coming out with content like this, okay? And so it's, again, a very interesting watch. I highly recommend you guys go check out some. It's very graphic, so just warning to you, is very graphic imagery that is coming out of Mariupol. But it's very interesting. I feel almost like they are building another narrative here out of Mariupol, and I guarantee you, I absolutely 100% guarantee you, we're going to see this footage be proliferated on Russian state media over the coming days here. And we're already starting to see that take place now in the past 12 to 24 hours or so. We've seen it hit YouTube now, and next it's probably going to, again, you're going to see this footage being put out a lot by Russian state media from these images in Mariupol. So moving on here, another post. We'll bring up another post from our, and actually, let's go back to our invasion map here. Excuse me. Again, reading to that, the Azov Regiment released a drone footage of their ambush of Russian convoy. If the video is recent, then there is still the Ukrainian president's south of the state notary office. The video is geolocated exactly on the marked border there with those Russian forces. Again, an update on the southern front line here. Again, includes Kherson, Mykolaiv, and Odessa Oblast. Russian forces shelled the regional capital in the evening. There has been no movement on the ground. That's for Mykolaiv. Kherson, Russian forces assaulted Oleksandrivka, southwest of Kherson. Ukrainian defenders repelled an attack in that region. Again, you can see those reports of conflict, etc., along that border there. Again, this is north of Crimea, near the Kherson region, the Mykolaiv region. Again, here is a full overview map of the current situation in Ukraine as for Russian-controlled territory and Ukrainian-controlled territory. Russian-controlled territory, of course, being the darker color here on the map. You can see these fire icons here, again, are where conflict is breaking out, is where strikes have broken out in and around those areas. The yellow here is that nuclear plant, the Zaporizhia nuclear plant, of course. So again, that concludes those updates, those frontline updates there, which again were brought to us by Fenris on the Situation Room on the Discord server. Thank you so much, Fenris, for bringing us that information. A post here from HM Producer on the Situation Room earlier today. Thank you so much, HM Producer, for this post. This comes from a Twitter source here. It comes from again, Russian-Ukrainian War Updates Twitter page here. Again, unverified. We take everything we see on Twitter and Telegram with a grain of salt. Again, this is footage here. I can get a translation on this. 1 second here, guys. I will get that translated. Sorry, 1 second here, guys. I'm just trying to get that headliner here. So this is news from Ukraine side. Bombings in Lviv this morning. Is this video here? This is a So this is footage of bombings in Lviv this morning. Again, that we reported on earlier. You can see those mushroom clouds going back there. I'm going to rewind it here so you can hear that shockwave. You can see the mushroom cloud rising from that strike there in the background. Again, this is reportedly from those strikes in Lviv this morning. Again, thank you, HM Producer, so much for posting that in the in the situation room over on the Discord. Minis asks, any rough estimate of how many bombs or missiles or whatever have hit Kiev? This dude's trying to tell me Russia hasn't touched the city. Yeah, Russia has touched the city. That is unfortunately true. They have bombed many areas in and around the city, and the not just the city, but the broader Kiev region. I don't have an exact list as to how many strikes there has been in Kiev. However, over the past few days, there has been a few that are notable. A post from Sniper. Thank you so much, Sniper. He's one of our mods over on the Discord server. Thank you so much for posting this, Sniper. It's a news post here by the Kiev Independent on Twitter. They've come out with quite a bit of good information here over the course of the war. Again, breaking Battle of Donbass starts against Zelensky said that Russia had concentrated a significant part of its forces for the offensive in eastern Ukraine. Quote, no matter how many soldiers are drawn there, we will defend ourselves, we will fight, we will not give up anything Ukrainian. Again, thank you so much to Sniper for posting that tweet there. Another post here from Sniper. Thank you again. He posted this in the Situation Room. This is from the New York Times on Twitter, saying the U.S. will begin training Ukrainian troops to operate powerful howitzers that the Biden administration is sending to Ukraine to help it fight the next major phase of the war, said a senior Pentagon official on Monday. Again, thank you, Sniper, for posting that in the Discord. Highly appreciated. Barney, thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. Highly appreciated. Unstinkable says, Nemico Network, I sent you very good footage of the missile attack in Lviv. You can see the missiles flying in. Roger that, Unstinkable. I'm going to get that, I'll get that up now. Thank you so much for sending this over. So, apparently this is some footage of the Lviv attack here from earlier. This is footage of a rocket attack in Lviv. Again, the video shows rockets, most likely caliber. Again, these strikes were on Lviv earlier. So there is one of the missiles hitting that target there in Lviv. Very stark footage here of those strikes on that city, on that western Ukrainian city this morning out of Ukraine. There actually, it sounds like there's actually sirens coming through my stream again. I actually was not playing the audio, so I'll get the audio playing on this if there is any for you guys. Oh, yes, there is here. Some very stark footage again here of those missile strikes in Lviv this morning. I believe there is a few other strikes here in this video. Yes, there is. So we'll continue watching this footage here. All right, sorry about that. I actually had the audio down. You guys should be able to hear it now.
Зараз буде.
А що там таке? Що там бомблять?
То скільки? 3 вже?
3 вже.
Це з Білорусі. Якщо виходить це вверх, це з Білорусі. Ще одна летить.
There's one there coming in. You can see it.
Зараз знову буде хвиля. 4.
Hold on, I'm gonna rewind that footage. That's pretty
Sure,
intense
Belarus.
footage there. You can actually see the missile flying in.
Ще одна летить.
Watch, you can see it right there flying in. See it? And then watch it strike there.
Зараз знову буде хвиля. 4.
То з чого? Що там таке є?
Та проводи. Львівтеплоенерго може? Обленерго. Воно в цій стороні.
Ні, може є що плана.
Ото десь туди. Але круто. Чітко в одну точку попадаєшся.
Що ж там є, що вони туди? Вони можуть виявитися на вокзал.
Диви, люди.
Що вокзал?
Again, very stark footage of those strikes in Lviv today. Again, I'm going to show just one more time that
Ще
missile
одна летить.
coming in. I believe that is a cruise missile there coming in to strike that target. Wow,
Ще
that
одна
is
летить.
intense footage. The fact that you can see the missile there silhouetted
З
against
Білорусі.
the sky. I get a lot of people in chat saying,
Ще одна
I've
летить.
been looking for footage of this war for months. In fact, I've seen it just a few times this live stream. People saying, you know, where's the footage of this war? I don't see anything. This right here is an excellent example of these strikes right near civilian populations. You can see here it is in the city.
З Білорусі.
There is believed to be a number of deaths from this strike.
Ще одна летить.
You can see, again, that missile there flying in and striking there
Зараз знову буде хвиля. 4.
with absolutely devastating effects. Again, very stark footage there of that missile. Thank you so much for posting or for sending that over, Unstinkable. That is highly appreciated. I'm gonna mute that audio. Yeah, here. Let me mute. I'm gonna mute our stream audio here out of Kharkiv right now, so that it's not interfering with our audio of these videos I'm trying to show you guys. RZ49 asked, why was that smoke of that missile dark AF? Probably because of hitting fuel or something else. It might have hit a fuel storage container. There's many reasons you could have that black smoke there. So another post from Fenris earlier. This came from a Russian telegram. Quote, the operation of the Russian Federation to close the Donbass boiler, quote, has begun. Ukrainian soldiers from the 110th Territorial Defense Brigade announced the beginning of the advance of Russian troops along the Gulayapol-Vikolai-Novoliselka line in the direction of the village of Pokrozhkovki. Russian rocket troops and artillery of the Russian armed forces struck at the positions of the enemy side in the areas of the settlements. Again, here is a map here I'll show you of where some of those offensives are taking place at this hour. You can see here they're moving down from the north, here, and out of the east along this front here, and then up from the south here. And again, they're going to try to enact a pincer movement here to cut off this pocket of Ukrainian resistance that is in this area, which is many hundreds of square kilometers, this area here. Unstinkable said he sent me over another of the same missile attack, but from another perspective. Okay, we'll take a look at that real quick. So same attack, different perspective. Thank you so much for sending this over, Unstinkable, again. Here's this video here. Let's see if I can I go full screen? No, it's not gonna be in line for you guys. You can see that video though there of those strikes. Again, thank you, Unstinkable, for sending this over. This is again footage of that same attack, but from different angles. And there's another missile coming inbound here, I believe, in a few moments. See that other missile there striking that target. Again, very stark footage here of those strikes in Lviv. Here's another one. Here's another one coming in. Right there. You can see it right there. Watch, you'll see the missile right by my mouse. Right there. See it? Somebody had mentioned actually in the chat that these cruise missiles that they're using are 26 feet long, which is why you can see them silhouetted against the sky like that. They are not small. Yeah, almost the size of a small airplane in some cases. Again, thank you to Unstinkable for sending over that footage. That was some really good footage there of those same strikes in Ukraine. Scotty, over on the Situation Room, posted this earlier from Live UA Map with a comment, air raids everywhere. And again, yes, we could see here in this report, literally, this was from 8 hours ago, unfortunately, air raids literally in almost every corner of Ukraine. Stephanie, thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. Highly appreciated. Thank you for tuning in this evening. Glad to see you here. Again, thank you to Scotty for posting that in the Situation Room over on the Discord. I think that about wraps up. Actually, there's one more post here from Fire Kitten in the Situation Room that is notable here. From the Moscow Times, Ukraine says powerful Russian strikes kill 7 in Lviv. So again, in those missile strikes there were 7. 2 have been confirmed killed. Again, that number possibly could increase in the coming hours or days. We're still waiting to get more concrete information on the fatalities of that strike there, as they're still trying to clean up after those strikes occurred. Again, a series of powerful Russian strikes on military infrastructure in Lviv on Monday left several dead and ignited blazes in the West Ukraine city that has been spared fierce fighting. A resident of Lviv told AFP they could see thick plumes of gray smoke rising above residential buildings, and air raid sirens sounded throughout the city during and after the strikes. Again, those were strikes that took place there in the capital of city. Sorry, not the capital city, but in the city there of Lviv, that western city in Ukraine there. Again, we just watched a video of those strikes a few moments ago. So again, thank you to everybody that contributed those posts in our Situation Room, again, over on the Discord server. If you guys would like to join in on that or to see any of those posts, there's many more over there in the Situation Room. I don't have time, unfortunately, to go through every single post, but I recommend that you guys go over there and check it out. That's by far one of the best places to get up-to-date information on what's going on in Ukraine, is over there on the Discord server. Link to that in the description below. So now what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to the Situation Room here, and we're going to go through all of the individual reports that have happened over the past 12 to 24 hours. We're going to start at about the 21-hour mark here, and we're going to go through every single post for all of the individual reports that have come out in order that they happened. Starting here at the 21-hour mark, Russia conducted 5 missile strikes in Lviv. Again, that's the missile strikes that we were just talking about there. Right up from that, at the 21-hour mark, head of the Dnipro-Petrovsk regional administration confirmed missile strikes in the region. Says some of the missile strikes were shot down by air defense. Again, you can see that located on the map there. At 21 hours ago, Pokrovskoye, red alert, aerial threat sirens sounding, take cover now. Again, that is in the east. Just really quickly, I would like to make a point here. If you scroll out in the map, every single one of these little circles is air raid alerts that have happened in recent hours. You can see that everywhere in Ukraine is lighting up like a Christmas tree, so to speak here, in a literal sense. Literally, there are air raid sirens popping up all over the country as Russia looks to bombard many different areas in Ukraine at this hour as they step up their advance on the country. 21 hours ago, missile strikes in Pavlorod and the Sinilovkovki districts in the Dnipro-Petrovsk region this morning. Again, you can see those posts here on the map. All right. 20 hours ago, so here's that image I was waiting to show you guys here this evening. 20 hours ago, here's the images of that Russian cruiser, the Moskva, aka the Moscow, on fire in the Black Sea there. You can see the black marks, the black scorch marks here and here, where it is believed that those Neptune missiles struck the vessel. You can see the vessel is canting off to one side there, leaning to one side there, as it begins to sink. Again, that vessel is believed to have been struck by multiple Neptune missiles sent from Ukrainian forces that struck the ship there. And again, early analysis of this picture states that these black marks here are those blast marks from those missiles hitting the ship. Again, there was possibly some ammo storage in this area here that maybe was hit, and that's what further damaged the hull of the ship and caused it to capsize. Again, that post came 20 hours ago, as those were the first real images there of that ship possibly sinking. 20 hours ago, 5 missile launches this morning from the area of Shizayin. You can see in this area here in the east. 20 hours ago, Russian Aviation Agency extending the closure of 11 airports in southern and southwestern Russia until April 25th. Again, that's because some of the airports are at risk here operating in this area. So that's mainly due to the conflict that is ongoing in the east and is now looking to ramp up. 20 hours ago here, Russian troops assaulting the Kremina town. Street battles rage. Evacuation of civilians are impossible now. Again, that came from the head of Luhansk Regional Administration. You can see those posts there on the live UA map. 20 hours ago, again, you can see Odessa Oblast, Odessa, Kirohodrovska Oblast, Cherkaska Oblast, all air raid alerts there as well. 20 hours ago, 2 wounded as a result of a missile strike in Selinovkovki district. Railway infrastructure damaged in Pavlorod district. No casualties were reported yet. At the 20-hour mark, head of Ukrainian Railway, Alexander Commission, says missile strikes in Lviv at railway infrastructure. No casualties. There will be delays in the schedule again. So there are other strikes that have happened in and around Lviv, not just those that we showed you in the video earlier. 20 hours ago, sirens sounding in Kiev, sirens sounding in Vinnytsia, Kiev Oblast, Zhytomyr Oblast, etc. In those regions there. You can see here. Again, Donetsk Oblast, aerial alert, sirens sounding now. Again, all those came at that 20-hour mark. 19 hours ago, explosions reported in Kharkiv. This is one of many that have been reported out of Kharkiv in the past about 24 hours or so here. 19 hours ago, there are dead and wounded as a result of a missile strike in Lviv. Again, that came from the MP Mykola Kinievsky. Again, you can see some pictures there of shrapnel-riddled vehicles in there on the streets of Lviv. 19 hours ago, another red alert siren for the Zaporizhia Oblast. 19 hours ago, 6 killed, 8 wounded, including a child, as a result of those strikes in Lviv. Again, that came from the head of the regional administration, says total 4 hits, 3 at military objects, and 1 at a tire service. So interesting strikes there in the city of Lviv, in and around Lviv Oblast as well. 19 hours ago, those sirens sounding for Lviv, Lvivska Oblast, Volnovska Oblast, Ivano-Frankivsk, Ivano-Frankivska Oblast, etc. Quite a few of those air raid alerts. In that same hour, you had alerts for Chernivsky and a multitude of other oblasts, Chernobyl as well as mentionable there. 19 hours ago, shelling and clashes with small arms were reported near the Staroverivka. Again, that's in the Kharkiv region. It's about, I would say, maybe 80 to 100 miles east here of Kharkiv, possibly a little farther than that. Again, 19 hours ago, Mayor of Lviv says about 40 cars damaged or destroyed. Hotel damaged as a result of a missile strike. Again, 6 killed, 11 wounded was that updated number there posted at that time. You could see those cars absolutely riddled and twisted from those explosions. 19 hours ago, yesterday, Russian troops shelled Kryvyi district with MLRS Grad. 5 houses, 3 vehicles, and other buildings damaged. Again, you can see that located on the map here. North of the Zaporizhia Oblast, north of Crimea there. 18 hours ago, Russian troops captured the Kremina. Clashes ongoing, said the head of Luhansk Regional Administration. Okay, you can see those located here on the map as that offensive heats up in the east there. 18 hours ago, 4 killed and 1 wounded when Russian troops attacked a civilian car in Kremenina. Again, that report came from that same area there on the map. And then here at the 17-hour mark, we have more air raid sirens that occurred in Dnipro, Kryvyi Zaporizhia Oblast, Donetsk Oblast, Poltavska Oblast, Luhansk Oblast, all had aerial red alert sirens at the 17-hour mark last night. 17 hours ago, humanitarian aid distribution point was shelled at Novi Badinki district in Kharkiv. 1 person was confirmed killed and 6 were wounded in that strike. 17 hours ago here, another report, at least 8 residential buildings, educational and infrastructural objects were destroyed in Kramatorsk as a result of Russian missile strikes. Again, you can see those strikes that took place in Kramatorsk. This is basically smack dab right in the middle of where that pincer movement is going to take place. I would argue we might see a holdout at Kramatorsk in the future if the Russians are able to successfully push into that region. Again, at 17 hours ago, Kharkiv Oblast, another red alert siren sounding now. Alert there on the map. Tiger Eye 912 says Nemico Network is really good at saying these cities. I can't pronounce any of them. That is a massive comment, Tiger Eye, and is worth mentioning because I think I suck at pronouncing these names. A few people have corrected me multiple times. I think I'm getting a little bit better though. I think I'm getting the hang of it. So again here, at least, that was in Kramatorsk there. 8 residential buildings, educational, infrastructural objects were destroyed. 17 hours ago, more red alert sirens in Kharkiv and the oblast surrounding that area. 17 hours ago, explosions were heard in Dnipro City, reportedly hit somewhere at the outskirts. Unsure at this time if maybe that was a military target or not. We haven't gotten more information on that. I did have quite a few people report those strikes to me when they happened earlier. 17 hours ago, more red alerts for Kiev. Vinnytsia Oblast, some multiple other oblasts here. Kiev Oblast, Zhytomyr Oblast as well. Some multiple air alerts over the course of the past 24 hours. So for some of these areas, they've had multiple consecutively. According to Serbia's president, since Russia launched its invasion of Ukraine, more than a dozen Air Serbia flights were forced to return to Belgrade or Moscow due to bomb threats, while Belgrade's airport was evacuated at least 3 times. An interesting report there again from Serbia's president. 16 hours ago, Russian TV broadcasts video of captured Britons demanding UK Prime Minister negotiate their release. 16 hours ago, Ukrainian air defense shot down a missile over Vaskaliv. You can see that here along the Dnipro River, located on the map here, not too far from Kiev. 16 hours ago, civil defense in Kharkiv region asking citizens to stay in shelter today due to constant shelling. Again, we've seen those air alert sirens multiple times in Kharkiv over the past 24 hours, so much so that it would seem as if, again, it would make more sense for that civil defense to issue, a warning to people just to stay inside. There really is no time where it is safe to come outside, as the shelling in those areas is so frequent. It's not happening by the hour, it's happening by the minute in some cases. Zaporizhzhia Oblast and Donetsk Oblast also had red alert aerial threat sirens sounding. Take cover alerts there. Again, located right smack dab in the middle of Donbass there, which is starting to conflict again, is starting to heat up in those areas. 15 hours ago, Russian troops shelled and damaged a church at the Salvatka district in Kharkiv last night. You can see an image here of the damage to that church, as, again, it was unfortunately struck there. 15 hours ago, Dnipro and the Dnipro Oblast had a red alert siren. Again, you can see those siren alerts there on the map. A report from 15 hours ago, a Russian Air Force Tupolev Tu-154M was spotted en route to Crimea. Again, seeing these aircraft is always concerning. Seeing these Russian aircraft shuffling around logistics and equipment, etc. I believe the Tupolev Tu-154M. If I'm not mistaken, I can get a little bit of insight here for you guys, just to clarify on that aircraft type. Again, I'm not an expert in Russian military hardware. The Tupolev T-154 is a 3-engine medium-range narrow-body airliner designed in the mid-1960s, and again manufactured by Tupolev. It was known as a workhorse of the Soviet Union. Again, I can try to get some more insight. I'm trying to get some more insight here for you guys. Wednesday Adams asks, what does oblast mean? Oblast is basically another word for county or region. So again, it's interesting, that this military aircraft was spotted, this Tu-154. It's unclear at this time, what that Russian aircraft was doing in the area. Moving on here, 15 hours ago, the head of Kiev Regional Administration reports missile strikes in the Vasikliv region. You can see that they're south of Kiev. 14 hours ago, MLRS shelling in the Edivitka region, again in the east there near Donetsk. 14 hours ago, explosions in Odessa as a result of air defense engaging aerial targets. Again, we've heard multiple reports of Ukrainian air defenses being able to successfully hold off some of these incoming Russian bombardments. "13 hours ago, Kiev, red alert, threat again, sirens sounding. Another alert in Kiev. There's been, again, you can just see here from what I've been bringing you guys, this information I've been bringing you, there's been multiple in some of these areas to the point where it's almost an hourly occurrence in some of these areas. 13 hours ago, Kharkiv, Kharkivska Oblast, also with those alerts. 13 hours ago, explosions were reported in Kharkiv, again, amid the aerial alert siren. 12 hours ago, volunteers sending water from Odessa to Mykolaiv as no water supply in the city for days as a result of that Russian shelling. You can see a picture there of those citizens working together to distribute water. You can also see that, again, sending water from Odessa to Mykolaiv as no water supply in the city for days as a result of that Russian shelling. You can see these people working together here to get that water packaged up and ready to rock and roll.
Николаев нам очень помогает. Да. Я не могу
Again, there's pretty cool footage there of those people working together to get that water shipped out to Mykolaiv from the Odessa region. Again, traveling from here over to here to bring them that water there. 12 hours ago, Ukrainian armed forces liberated several settlements near Izium, says the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. That comes as those Russian forces tried to push into the area from the north. Remains to be seen if they're going to be able to hold it down and take some of that territory. 12 hours ago, Putin discusses Russia-Ukraine talks in Middle East with Palestinian leader Abbas. Again, that comes as a multitude of talks have taken place between Vladimir Putin and other state leaders here in the past week or so. Kramatorsk, a aerial alert siren. This was at the 12-hour mark last night. Again, multiple in Kramatorsk over the past 12 to 24 hours. Bakhmut, 12 hours ago, red alert threat, sirens sounding. Take cover. 11 hours ago, commander of the large landing ship Caesar Kunikov, third-rank captain Alexander Chivra, has died in a hospital of his wounds. Again, that information came out of Crimea. I believe he is a commander of, again, a Russian naval vessel, if I'm not mistaken. Commander of a large landing ship, Caesar Kunikov, third-rank captain, has died in hospital of his wounds. Again, not sure if that was related directly to the Moskva or not. Donetsk Oblast alert 11 hours ago. They had a, again, air raid there. 11 hours ago, Russia, again, has now 76 battalion tactical groups in Ukraine as of this time. A slight increase in recent days, says a U.S. defense official. Again, that comes as we've seen the Maxar images and other satellite imagery of them shuffling around those forces and troops in the east of the country. 11 hours ago, first flights carrying $800 million worth of weapons arrived Sunday and will be delivered to Ukraine, says a U.S. senior defense official. It's been kind of the talk of the town over the past a few days here or so, is this $800 million defense package that is heading into Ukraine. Remains to be seen what effect that has, and if it makes it there safely. 10 hours ago, the U.S. official says the United States has no evidence that the sunken Russian warship had nuclear weapons when it went down, contrary to Twitter gossip. I know there's been a lot of rumors, even here in our community, that possibly that Russian warship was carrying some nuclear ordnance. However, at this time, it has not been confirmed that it was carrying any nuclear weapons. 10 hours ago, Ukraine's Armed Forces Command says it sees signs that Russia is beginning its new offensive in eastern Ukraine. "10 hours ago, the U.S. Treasury. In the next stage, we will focus on pursuing those who try to violate sanctions against Russia." Again, as they look to tighten the grip there financially for Russia. 10 hours ago, the European Union condemns the Russian bombing of civilians in Ukraine. 9 hours ago, Russian troops already in Zatorenitch, here in the east of the country. 9 hours ago, in Bakhmut, red alert, aerial threat siren sounding. Kiev, aerial alert, threat sounding there, as well as Dnipro and the Dnipro Oblast 8 hours ago. Poltavska Oblast, alert sounding there as well 8 hours ago. 8 hours ago, Russian plane shot down near the Bakalivka, says the head of Kharkiv Regional Administration, Oleg Senidgubov. Again, you can see there. We heard reports of, again, that Russian plane being shot down earlier. We've also heard reports of Russian aircraft flying over Mariupol. They are actively flying Russian aircraft on missions over Mariupol for bombing runs. We have heard confirmed reports of that over the past 12 to 24 hours here. 8 hours ago, Volnovska Oblast, basically every oblast in Ukraine came under a air raid alert. As you can see here in this block at 8 hours ago, almost every major oblast in the country came under air raid alerts. Okay, this is probably, I think this probably takes the record, the world record so far, the Ukraine record so far for most air raids in a 24-hour period, if I'm not mistaken. Definitely just one after another over the past 24 hours or so here in the country of Ukraine. 8 hours ago, Mykolaiv, red alert. 8 hours ago, Chernivtska Oblast, Ternopil, a handful of others also had a red alert. 8 hours ago, Ukraine's cyber defenders again will take part in NATO's annual cyber exercise organized by CCDCOE. Locked Shields, again, is the world's biggest live cyber exercise and brings together experts from NATO, allies, and partners. Again, that comes as the cyber threat continues to escalate here from Russia and other actors, amongst other actors. 8 hours ago, Kryvyi Rih, Donetsk Oblast, aerial threat sirens. Luhansk Oblast, aerial threat sirens. Also at the 8-hour mark. 7 hours, moving on to 7 hours here. Ukrainian armed forces repelled 4 Russian attacks today. Again, in different regions of the east there. I don't believe that's counting small attacks and small offensives in other parts of the country. 7 hours ago, explosions in Mykolaiv as a result of heavy shelling in that city. Again, there's been multiple reports of shelling in that area over the past 12 to 24 hours. Again, President Vladimir Zelensky says the battle for Donbass has begun. Again, that was 6 hours ago that he made that post. Moving on, 6 hours ago, Kiev, more air raid alerts. Dnipro Oblast, more air raid alerts. Poltavska, more air raid alerts. Kharkiv, more air raid alerts. Here's this heavy shelling from the Russian positions, multiple areas of the Donetsk region. We showed you that those outgoing missiles earlier. I can show you again. Those came from Nexta directly. Sorry, Nexta on Twitter here again. Those are Donetsk region shooting from the DPR side. Those missiles there, outbound fire. 5 hours ago in Izium, a red alert, aerial threat siren sounding now. 5 hours ago, Hulayapol in Zaporizhia region was shelled with incendiary ammunition. You can see there on the map there, kind of to the northwest of Mariupol. Odessa, red alert, aerial threat siren sounding, take cover now. Again, that was 4 hours ago. Mykolaiv 4 hours ago, and the Oblast, the surrounding Oblast, had air raid alerts. Odessa Oblast also had alerts there at the 4-hour mark. Ochakiv in Mykolaiv region was shelled with MLRS Uragan with cluster ammunition. This was reported again here on the map. That is getting awfully close to Odessa, guys. As you can see here, those Russian forces are still active in this area outside of Crimea, outside of Kherson. So we're going to have to see, how far westward they make it here. Again, another report there, though, of cluster ammunition being used in the south, in the country of Ukraine, primarily there in the south. 4 hours ago, another air raid alert in Kiev, Dnipro Oblast, Poltavska Oblast, Chernivska Oblast, Mykolaiv, Malevska Oblast, etc. And I will refresh the map here just to make sure there are no fresh alerts that have come in since we've started this. And there isn't. So that concludes our list of reports and air raid alerts from our live UA map sources here. I hope that was informative for all of you guys, just kind of illustrating how active the conflict has been over the past about 12 to 24 hours here, as things have indeed began to heat up in the east of Ukraine. Okay, we're going to see more of this fighting. We're going to see the violence escalate, I believe, over the coming days. Again, keep your ear to the ground. Watch for that footage coming out of Mariupol of the bodies in the street. We're going to see that over the next few days. I guarantee it. Coming out of Russian state media. It might even make some of those images might even make it over here to Western media as well. Again, if you guys want to see what I'm talking about, again, go check out Patrick Lancaster's videos. I don't like to promote him too much. Again, he's coming kind of from a pro-Russian narrative, and some of his information sometimes is questionable. But that footage that they're bringing out is very similar to what we saw in Bucha, and so I find it interesting. It makes you speculate. You know, are they looking to kind of start building another false flag narrative here out of Mariupol? Again, to everybody that is looking to join in on the discussions, looking to provide in the aggregation of reports, you can find all that information. You can join in on the community over on the Discord server. We are in the midst of getting our website set up. Soon we'll have kind of a unified platform besides Discord. I know there's quite a few people that don't like to use Discord. We'll have kind of a unified platform, kind of a forum, so to speak, where we can start cataloging and archiving a lot of this data and a lot of this intel that we have been bringing you guys and reporting. I have a whole bunch of changes coming to the report over the next week or so. I've slowly began to implement them. New upgrades to the stream format, things like the new intro you guys saw this evening. Actually, somebody had mentioned to me that I made a small typo in one of the text titles in that intro. I actually pumped out that intro in like the few hours leading up to tonight's report, as I was massively behind schedule. There's a whole bunch of new features that I'm implementing, new things that we're going to try here on the show for the reports going forward, and so I'm starting to implement some of those things. I'm kind of taking my sweet time with it because I want to make sure things are done right. We're going to start doing, kind of adding new segments to the show, kind of trying some new things here and there. Again, this is kind of an evolving kind of format here that we're working on with you guys. Again, if you guys are looking for any of the links to anything that we've talked about in tonight's stream, tonight's report, you can find those in the description below this stream or below this video. Again, as we upload all of these reports after they're live to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Nemico Network. If you missed tonight's report, you can go and you can find it there on our YouTube channel. If you missed last night's report or any of the previous reports, you can find them on our YouTube channel. Again, thank you guys so much for the kind words tonight. Thank you to everybody that tuned in. I'm going to kind of switch over to kind of a little bit of a Q&A here with the chat. Kind of read some of your guys' comments coming from the live chats here on Twitch and on YouTube. STCG King says, okay, well, it must be bloody hell in Mariupol if it's still going. Yes, it is. It definitely is. In fact, it was referred to as hell on earth in a few statements over the past few days. Mariupol definitely has been destroyed from the ground up. Rocketman says, U.S. needs to pump oil and invert price again. This will make the sanctions have max impact. Yeah, some could argue that that would be beneficial in leveraging against Russia here. Speedy Squirrel, thank you so much for tuning in this evening. Says, thanks, Nemico Network. Awesome job as usual. Well, I'm doing as much as I can. I'm continuing to improve upon things, guys. Not just in, how I bring you guys the information, but what information I'm bringing you guys. Making sure that things are vetted. Making sure that we're getting you guys factual data always is important. Making sure that we're vetting the community aggregated information that we're bringing in. It's a very valuable resource having you guys in our community, that are willing to do the work and put in the hours to aggregate some of this information, to aggregate some of this intel, and so I can bring it to you guys here in this format. Tiger Eye 912 says, I love the intro. Well, thank you so much for those words, Tiger Eye. Glad to have you on the show tonight. Glad you tuned in. Owlie Manstein says the factory seems to be what is holding out at the moment, referring to Mariupol there. Yes, that is true. There is another pocket of Ukrainian resistance in that area, though, not just at the steel plant. There has been a few other reported pockets of resistance in that area. Decay, thank you so much for subscribing this evening to the stream. Thank you so much to everybody that has subscribed on the stream today. Much appreciated, you guys. Thank you so much. Miss Chris earlier gifted a 1-month tier sub to Creation. Thank you so much for the support there. Carolina Cajun earlier gifted another 1-month sub. Thank you so much for doing that. You guys, the support is highly appreciated. I love every single one of you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to the stream this evening. JC Stalling says the mods are awesome tonight. Yeah, trying not to be banned. He puts it in parentheses. They're doing an excellent job over there. I just want to give a huge shout out to my mods. Thank you guys so much. We're bringing on more mods. We're actually going to be implementing the live chat rules for the live chat, just to make things a little bit more civil, keep things civil over there, and kind of help our mods do their job over there. Again, we like to make a safe environment for every perspective, for every opinion here on this channel. The only thing we ask is that you're civil to your other human beings, to your fellow human beings in the live chats. That's the only thing we're moderating, is making sure that people are civil. Prayer said, I never realized how brave Ukrainians are. God bless them. Yes, very true, Prayers. Also, they're not just brave, they're damn resourceful. We've been able to see them pull through and come in clutch multiple times since this war has began. They have not only a large amount of balls, but a large amount of brains. Paddywhack says, great stream, going to bed. Thank you for another wonderful stream. Thank you so much, Paddywhack, for tuning in this evening. Glad to have you on. Awesome. Thank you for tuning in. Raindrop says, Nemico, great job. Thank you so much, Raindrop, for tuning in. Annette, thank you for tuning in tonight. Lyle says, is the live stream active? Mine is just refreshing in black. Yes, it is active. We are currently up in 4K. Maybe refresh the page. You could also try Twitch. If YouTube isn't working, you can always try Twitch. If Twitch isn't working, you can always try YouTube. That's why we have the multiple streams there. House Virgo says, Nemico Network, did you report Russia hasn't taken Mariupol yet earlier? Yes, it has not taken Mariupol at this time. The city of Mariupol is still being contested at this time actively. Speedy Scroll says, Nemico, any updates on radiation levels in Chernobyl? We did see updates that they were elevated initially in the past week or so. However, I don't have any updated information as for those levels at this time. However, for tomorrow's report, I can get some of that information together for you. In fact, I will write that down on my list here to make sure that we get some of that information possibly for you tomorrow. If I can find anything on that, I will do so. Unstakeable says, Nemico Network, have you seen the drone footage of that Ukrainian soldier tossing some nades into a group of Russian forces soldiers? 2 were hiding under a van. Nade rolls under that van. One of them tosses it away into friendly dudes. I have not seen that footage. If you would like to send that over to me, I can take a look at that footage there. I've seen hundreds of videos. I probably get hundreds of videos sent to me every day. And so I try to go through as many of them as I can. If you want to send me any footage, the best way to do that is to PM it to me on the Discord server. Again, thank you, Unstinkable, for the footage you've sent over tonight. It's been pretty valuable. Thank you so much for that, man. Robert Hunt says, I wish you would play the video Daily Life in Mariupol with the Defenders. I possibly, maybe for tomorrow, we can look at some of those videos. In fact, we might actually do that tomorrow. We might have kind of a little bit of a video section where we look at not only some of the videos out of Mariupol from the western side of things, but also some videos maybe from the Russian side of things, what some of their media is saying is going on in the area, and we'll compare both sides. Brian asks, what do you think history will say about this war? I believe that remains to be seen because we don't know the true scope of this war yet. It could be that we've already reached the climax of this war. It could be that it's just getting started. So we need to stay vigilant. Again, I believe that's a question for the future. Again, it will go down in history as a bloody war. That is without a doubt. Not Pocky says, congrats to Tango Down. Good choice. Moderators make this a more peaceful and honest place. I agree, Pocky. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know Tango has been helping out in the live chat quite a bit for a while. There's a few others of you that are there in the live chats. You guys are on the list, those of you that have contributed and even maybe put your hat in the ring for the moderator ability. You guys will be in touch eventually. Thank you so much for sticking around and contributing. HM Producer, I got your PMs. I haven't read them yet, but I will after after this stream. She says, "I sent you the the conversation with my friend in Lviv and sending questions from chat tonight." Thank you so much, HM Producer, for those notes, and I will read your messages thoroughly after the stream here. I know there's quite a few of you that sent me PMs over. Don't worry, guys, I'm not ignoring you. I get dozens and dozens and dozens every time I start the stream, so I'll get to all of them. I want to make sure to read everything you guys send me, okay? Noah Saddam says, my wife and I have been watching you since the first stream. Well, thank you so much, Noah. That means a ton to me. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm glad to have you here. Thank you for watching the stream along with us. Prayers, again, thank you so much for those kind words of support there. Smuggy says, I cannot handle what's about to come out of Mariupol. Yes, it's very unfortunate. I guarantee you guys, again, keep an ear to the ground, keep your eyes open. We're going to see some very stark things coming out of Mariupol in the next few days, but be vigilant when it comes to analyzing this data and make sure to, always double check things and make sure that what you're seeing is factual. There's going to be a lot of conflicting reports coming out of Mariupol. There's going to be a lot of very hard to look at imagery coming out of Mariupol in the next few days. Keep your eyes open and stay frosty. The Nightcap says, we are thankful for all of your work. The Captain. Thank you so much, Captain, for tuning in. I saw you sent me some PMs too. Don't worry, I'll get those. I have a whole list of PMs open on Discord right now. I'm going to get to all of those after the stream is over. Again, to everybody that missed the stream tonight, I will be uploading it to YouTube after it's done. If you would like to watch the whole thing and kind of get up to date on what's going on, I will be uploading it after the stream is completed. It usually takes about an hour or two, a couple hours. It takes just a second to upload, but it takes a while for YouTube to process it, especially into 4K. You might just have 360p standard definition first, then it takes like an hour or so for the HD to get up to date as well. Appy, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm 100% thrilled to see our Scotsman is still hanging out with us here, man. You're awesome. Thank you so much for tuning back in. He says, cheers, Omnissiah. I hope you've had a great Easter weekend. Well, Appy, I hope you had a great Easter weekend, too. I hope you all had a great Easter weekend. I'm glad to see you, again, all tuning in here this Monday night. I hope you guys all had a chance to spend some time with your family and friends and get a little much-needed R&R. As Toaster says, As Toaster just subscribed on the Twitch channel. And thank you so much, As Toaster, for the subscribe. It's highly appreciated, man. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I'm going to make sure that, again, every sub you guys, put forth, I'm going to make sure, that I return it tenfold in the quality of reporting and the quality of content. Not just the live streams here, guys, but I have a bunch of video content coming your guys' way soon. I've been working on a ton of stuff that I'm really pumped to get out to you guys. And not just news and open source intelligence stuff, even though I have a lot of that coming your way too. I have a lot of other stuff I want to do too on my end, not related to the war. Eventually, when this hopefully is all said and done, I got a whole bunch of awesome content that I think a lot of you guys will really enjoy. Antonio says, thanks for what you do. Thank you so much, Antonio, for tuning in tonight. Glad to have you here. Much appreciated. Hugo says, hi from LA, Cali. Well, thank you so much, Hugo, for tuning in from LA. Decay, thank you so much for subscribing to the YouTube channel over there. Much appreciated. It's the best way to get notifications. It's the best way to support the channel as well. Rocketman asks, when are the Western air defense systems go live in Ukraine? This is the sensitive tech that rattles Putin. That remains to be seen if they're going to send any further air defense equipment into Ukraine. Any more advanced systems, that is, than they already are providing. That remains to be seen. It definitely would change the dynamic, though. House Virgo says, "Can I be a mod too, Nemico Network? I have some Mentos Crunch." That is a very convincing offer. We'll have to think about that. Gerald says, Gerard, sorry. He says, "Hello from Dublin, Ireland. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight from Dublin, Ireland. In fact, I had a Guinness with my a nitrogenated Guinness with my dinner tonight. Hell of a beer. Thank you so much for tuning in, Gerard, from Ireland. I don't usually drink. In fact, it's probably the first time I've drank it in months. But that was a hell of a drink. Hell of a beer. So I thank Ireland for that. Kush Queen says, heading out. Thanks, Nemico. Thank you so much, Kush Queen, for stopping by. Again, we'll be back here every night, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's weekdays. We do take breaks on the weekends. Sometimes I'll do a Saturday report or a Sunday report if things are busy. But I always announce that stuff ahead of time to you guys. Keep an eye on both the Discord announcements channel and the channel community section on the YouTube channel. Noah says, "Thank you for keeping the stream unbiased. Don't feel like I have to worry about filtering out the BS." Yes. I try 100%, you guys. I try my best to keep things as unbiased as possible. I know sometimes it can be hard to do so. And every time I hop on here and I'm bringing you guys these reports, I try to mix stuff in from both sides of the spectrum here, guys, because it's important that we have, a full view of what's going on. Again, I try my best to improve as time goes on. I'm going to, do better at staying unbiased and staying somewhere in the middle when it comes to bringing you guys these reports. Poseidon says, "Hey Nem, Twitch is only running at 720p. Can the stream be upgraded to 1080p 4K?" Yeah, it's actually supposed to be running in 4K. That actually makes no sense that it's running in 720p right now on Twitch. In fact, like last night, the past few nights, it's been running in 2160 just fine. It's funny. One day you boot it up and Twitch is like, "Hey, yeah, here you go. Here's 2160 and the ability to down transcode into lower resolutions." But the next day you go up and, again, you only have 720p or whatever. Yeah, it looks like we're only getting 720p feed on Twitch, even though we're pushing a 4K feed. If you go over to YouTube, you guys should be able to access that 4K feed if you really want the 4K. I'm going to actually reach out to Twitch and maybe ask them about this, why this has happened, because I believe this is the second, third time we've had inconsistencies with their transcoding. Yeah, 4K is working like a charm on YouTube. So if you do want that 4K feed, best place to get that is probably over on the YouTube channel at this time. Yeah, if you guys could, that'd be awesome. If you could hit that not the subscribe button, but the like button real quick, that'd be appreciated. Patty Wax says, "Before I go to bed, my shirt arrives in 2 days. I'll take a picture. Where do I send it? If you can, send it over on the Discord server. You can send it right to me. You can PM it to me, or you can post it in the Battle Stations chat or the Images chat. Either of those are fine. But yeah, I'd love to see those, man. That's awesome. It gives me the absolute fizz when I see you guys representing that merch and wearing that merch. That's awesome. Thank you so much for that." Amy says, "So glad I caught you tonight. Missed the last few updates. Truly appreciate your hard work." Thank you so much, Amy, for tuning in. I'm glad to have you here. I'm going to actually try to choose a few days this week, guys. My plan is to choose a few days this week where I'm going to hop on for some all-day reports, where we can get on for, a whole day and kind of go, into some deep dives, answer questions for you guys, for an extended period of time, not just a 2-hour stream. I want to do a couple all-day streams this week if I can with you guys. And again, I'll let you know in the Discord when I plan on doing those. And I'll also announce them probably on the YouTube channel as well. I know there's, again, really just want to mention there's a few other mods again, that I'm looking to bring onto the team that I haven't yet. If you guys are watching, again, I'll be contacting you guys probably in the next either few hours or sometime tomorrow to get you guys onboarded. I didn't have enough time today to get to all of that. Brian Blackbird says, "Can you do a history of the war from the beginning of 2008?" I might in the future do a kind of deep dive on this on stream. I might also possibly do some video content on this in the future. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, I'll probably be doing again a kind of a deep dive into some of that history there in the future. Yeah, as A. Charles says, he fact actually he replied to you. He says Vice News had great coverage, great Crimea coverage, still up on YouTube from 2014. That coverage is what got me originally interested in this whole situation. Back in 2014, watching that stuff unfold live, watching the Russian roulette episodes from Vice be uploaded, watching the live streams happen from Maidan and the annexation of Crimea. That's what really got me invested in this whole thing back 8 years ago. So I highly recommend watching those videos. They're a great watch, and yeah, it definitely is a pretty eye-opening series of content. To take a look at what happened back then and how it correlates to what's happening now. House Virgo says, "I looked up that Lancaster dude on Twitter. Too much horror there." Yes, 100%. Very graphic images. I warn anybody that's going to go look at his stuff. The stuff that's been coming out of Mariupol from them the past few days is very graphic. There's a lot of death, a lot of suffering that is happening in that city. I mean, I do think it's important that people are aware of that. But at the same time, be aware that some of that is false information and narrative building coming out from those pro-Russian sources. So just be careful of that. There's some of that narrative building on both sides of the spectrum, but it's very heavy coming out of Mariupol by those Russian forces at this time. Hugo asks, "Hi Nemico, can you stream Lviv cams?" Thanks. Yes, I have quite a few Lviv cams. After this stream, I'm going to I'll take a few minute break. But before I do that, I'll try to get some of those cameras updated for you guys so that they will be rock and rolling and on stream for you guys for the rest of the night. Tiger Eye 912 says, "Tell your wife hey, and thank you for letting us have you for a little bit." I will do that. Wayne asks, "Any updates on the missiles that hit Lviv?" Yeah, it looks like 7 people were killed in those strikes in Lviv. We were watching videos of that earlier. There's multiple targets that were struck there in Lviv over the past 24 to 48 hours or so. So definitely been an uptick in the violence there in the west of the country. Marcia says, "I miss your beautiful voice. Repeat everything again because I missed it." I'll actually be uploading this live report in a few minutes after I'm done here with you guys. I'll be getting that uploading, and it'll be done in a few hours, and it'll be live on the channel if you want to go back and watch the report for anybody that missed it. Tina asks, "There's a lot of movement going on in flight data right now. What do you think is happening?" Well, as that battle heats up in the east, there's most likely a large increase in readiness level by not only NATO countries, but NATO partner countries as well. So you're probably going to see an uptick in the amount of military aircraft flying in and around the airspace. HRL says, "Nemico Network consistent. Thanks for your efforts and time presenting a great platform. A lot of choices on YouTube, but you and majority of your audience display knowledge." Well, thank you so much, HRLs, for those kind words. It means a lot. It means a lot. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Again, thank you guys for tuning in this evening to all of you guys. Thank you for everybody that followed, everybody that subscribed. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will have, again, another report tomorrow, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope to have, again, more improvements for you guys tomorrow for tomorrow's report. STCG King says, "Love the all-day reports, but I can imagine how taxing it is on family, etc." Yeah, it is a little bit taxing when it comes to just spending all of that time on there. But I do hope to get a few of those days in here with you guys this week. Rocket Man says, "More video content, please." Yep, we got more video content coming your way. I got a whole bunch of stuff lined up for you guys, and I'm really pumped to get some of that content over to you guys. So again, thank you guys for tuning in this evening. Again, to everybody that hasn't already, hit that like button. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. It's the best way to get notifications when streams go live. If you're on Twitch, hit the follow button. I love every single one of you guys that has tuned in tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in and choosing to get your reports and information from me. I'm going to do all I can to bring you guys more information, better reporting, in a better format moving forward. I'm making improvements constantly, and I'm really pumped to bring some of those upgrades and improvements to you guys going forward here into the future. Again, thank you to everybody that tuned in tonight. If you would like to join in to the community more in depth, if you'd like to get information and reports sooner, best place to do that is over on the Discord server, discord.gg/Nemico. There's a link to that in the description below. If you're looking for any of the links to any of our sources or anything like that, best place to find that, again, Discord server, but you can find a lot of it in the description below the live stream or below this video if you're watching it as a video on YouTube. If you would like to donate to Ukraine, there is links to that in the description. A lot of people need help over there, and if you have money to give, send it over there to Ukraine. There's a lot of people that could use assistance over there. It's a growing humanitarian crisis, a growing refugee crisis occurring in that country. Again, there's links to the Discord server and everything else you need in the description below. You can find this report uploaded to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Nemico Network after we are done being live here. Again, thank you guys. Thank you to everybody that tuned in this evening. This has been your report for April the 18th of 2022. It's a Monday. Now a Tuesday in Ukraine, about 6:32 a.m. Kiev time. Currently about 11:32 p.m. My time here on the East Coast. Again, thank you guys for tuning in, and until next time, stand by.